With 68% of venture capital going to the coast and only 36% of SBA loans going to Heartland states, it's no wonder that access to capital was the #1 issue for Heartland entrepreneurs.
It's incredibly difficult for people outside of Tier 1 cities to get capital. When you think about the competition that founders are up against, if you're a company that's bootstrapping and you're going up against a company that has $5 million in the bank, it's just going to be really hard to acquire the customers that you need to grow the business, to acquire the talent. And if you can't acquire customers or talent, then what are you going to do?
Certainly the biggest barrier, I think, for entrepreneurs is startup capital. How do we get going? In my case, it was family, a few friends, and credit cards. That's not always the winning formula. And so for those who may not have access to one of any of those, how do we help them really take their idea and get it to the market so that they can implement it?
So one of the things about being a small-scale developer is that it's very hard to find capital. That is the #1 thing for my Black and brown developers and women developers trying to access capital.
Let's be honest. As a country, the majority of us don't have big savings accounts. We don't have the friends and family that often get spoken about when we think about the early stages of startup work and who helps us pay the bills. And we rely a lot on venture capital as the way to fund businesses. The good news is government has started to make a lot of money available. There are federal grants, there are state funding. Many states are doing direct investing, they're doing fund of funds, so there is a recognition that more capital is necessary. Now there needs to be a recognition that more flavors of capital are necessary. Everything from low interest loans and community funds to revenue-based funding to equity.
We created a RISE initiative, and RISE stands for Retention, Incentives for Success and Expansion. And so we saw that while many municipalities engage in recruitment efforts and spend a ton of incentives to get a company here, what about the companies that are homegrown and in your community who statistically have a greater impact on your economy when they expand? And so we created this incentive program that is underwritten through the sale of some of our surplus property. And so in perpetuity, we will have a funding source that we can then redeploy back out into our community with an average reward size of about $75,000 to $150,000. And that means a ton for a small business who's just starting or one who's ready to scale.
We hope that you will take these lessons from across the Heartland and carefully consider what will work in your own community to increase access to capital.